Okay, guys, welcome back. We're going to identify key characteristics. This should be page 3 of the graphs that you have put in your notes. All right. Now, if you take a look at this, this is a cubic function, and a cubic will have a graph that looks similar to this. Notice what is your domain. Your domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. So it's going to be left to right. Your range, the floor is negative infinity all the way to your high point, which is also negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay. Your end behavior. Let's take a look at your end behavior. Okay. Notice this left side. End behavior for the left, you're going to write limit. X is coming from negative infinity. What is happening on the left side? It's falling left. Since it's falling, it's heading toward the negative infinity. Your right-hand side. Over here is your right-hand side. For right hand, you write limit. X is approaching positive infinity. What is happening to the right side? It's rising up, rising right. And if it's rising to the right, that means it's going toward the positive. Okay? By the way, if you see that if these were the same, I will teach you guys how to write that later. All right, let's look at your x-intercept. Since it's to the third, you should have 3 x-intercept. But in our case, we only have 1 real solution, okay? We're going to use our calculator to try to find that in just a little bit. So I'm going to write calculator. Your y-intercept, it's always the constant right there. So what is your y-intercept? 0, -8. Make sure you write it as a point. All right, now let's go ahead and use our calculator for the next part, okay? Calculator, calculator. So you might want to write the steps to help you. Here we go. So we're going to type in our equation. Go to y equal. Let me clear a few things. Okay. And I'm going to hit zoom 6 back to standard. All right. So I'm going to type in my equation, which is x raised to the third. You have a question? Yeah. Minus 6x squared plus 4x minus 8. Okay, make sure you type it in correctly because the calculator is going to spit out what you type in. Now go ahead and hit the graph. Okay, do you see how your graph looks kind of like that? You see how you can't see all of that graph? If you will hit zoom out or zoom in, I'm going to zoom out. Okay, so I'm going to hit number 3. Enter. See how it kind of gives you all that. Now, I want to teach you guys a little about the window. Right now, if you look at your window, this is your x. Your window is -40 and +40. This is -40 and +40. Notice how you don't need all of that. You only need it from here to here. So we're going to change our window to -10, maximum to 10. Do you see how this is now -10 and +10? And you want to do that so you can kind of see your graph a lot easier. Don't mess with the y unless you want to, but the y is just to help you find all that. All right, so to find your x-intercept, it's right there, okay? So what you do is you want to hit second calc. So here are your steps for this one. Second, calculate. Go to where it says 0, which is number 2, okay? So 0. So you see that? Let me hit it again. Here's your graph. Second calc, right there, number 2, okay? And I'm wanting to go to here. So you want to see the changes. So use your right arrow button. Just anywhere below that line. Push enter, that's your left bound. Anywhere above that line, push your enter, and then you says guess, and you say yes. Tell me what that is. All right, do you see all that number? I'll tell you that in just a little bit. So what is your zeros? Okay, so you have left bound, and then you have right bound. All right, so your x-intercept is 5.5, comma 0. You have it written on your calculator as 9e -12. That means it's 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's as close as it's going to get. And that's the reason you can just write 0 in that place. Okay, so there is your x-intercept. -5.5 and 0. All right, now let's take a look at your minimum and your maximum. So for your maximum, you're going to do the same thing. Okay, so you're going to hit, here's your step, second, calculate, and you're going to hit the word maximum. And so to find our relative maximum, you're going to have your left bound, your right bound. Okay, so here's your steps. You guys ready? From the graph, make sure you can see the graph though. Here's your maximum. So we're going to hit second calc. Maximum is number 4. And I'm going to use my left and right. Don't use up and down arrow, use left and right arrow because you're moving left to right. Here's my maximum. You just have to be somewhere to the left of this maximum. For your left bound, push enter. You have marked it. Now, there's your maximum somewhere. We're going to go to the right of that. See the change? And there's your enter. So what is your maximum point? Well, that point is 0.37, comma, negative 7.3. There is your maximum. Minimum, you do the same thing, except you hit the word minimum. Okay? So here's my graph, and where's my minimum? Here's your minimum. Second calc, minimum is number 3, and I want that point. So I'm going to go to the left of that, push enter. Okay? Now, do you see how your Y's and your X? Take a look. See how you're to the right of it? Anywhere to the right, push enter, anywhere. And it says minimum, and your minimum is 3.6, comma, negative 24.7. And there's your minimum and your maximum. Okay? So use the calculators to help you guys on those. Let's go to page 4. This should be your page 4. I believe. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. All right. Yep. This one should say page 4 at the bottom of your paper. Okay? All right. This one does not have a graph for you. It doesn't have a equation. So all you have is a graph for this one. All right. Here we go. I'm going to draw my arrows there. Okay. Let's fill some out. Domain, all real numbers, or negative infinity to positive infinity. Are you noticing how both of those are going the same direction? Since you're in behavior, you are going to have an even power. Okay? So it's going to be y equals something. All right, here we go. Your range, we don't know how low this is, so I want you guys just to put a parentheses and put low point. Or you can just write unknown right now. And your high is positive infinity. There's your range, okay? Just write NA if you want to, because we don't know what that is and we don't have stuff to tell us. There's no formula. But we know this is y is equal to something. All right, turning points. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's name it first. 1, 2, 3, okay? So your degree is going to be 3 plus 1. So this is x to the 4th power. Do you see how it's starting up in the positive? So this right here is called a quartet. Okay, x to the 4th. All right. In behavior, coming from the left, it is rising left. So y is equal to positive infinity. Limit on the right, rising right. So y is equal to positive infinity. Let me show you another way you can write this. Do you see how these y's are exactly the same? You can actually write it like this when your in behavior is in the same direction. You can write limit x plus or minus y is equal to 8. You can write it as 1. Okay? So something you can do. All right, our x-intercept, we're just going to eyeball it. Right there is negative 2, 0. Right there, negative 1, 0. And right over here, 3, 0. Y-intercept looks like it's right here. 0.5. There you go. We're going to call it 0.5. If I had an equation, you can tell it exactly. Okay, so we just know it's somewhere. It could be 0, 0. So, close enough. I would take credit for that. Let's call it 0, 0. All right. Relative max. Here's a relative max. What is that maximum point? That looks like negative 0.5, 0.5. Is that the only relative max you have? Yes, you only have one. Relative minimum, that's this right here. That looks like negative 1.5 and 1. And the other one here, we don't quite know. Okay? But you know there's two. So just write NA, but put parentheses around 2. So I know that there's two relatives. All right. There's an example of one that you can just tell by the graph. Okay? Let's look at the next one, page 5. Okay. We don't know a lot of things here. So we got a graph that looks like this. But I just wanted to get you guys to naming it. So let's take a look. Turning point, 1, 2, 3, 4. So your degree is going to be 4 plus 1, which is 5. So y is x to the 5th. So this right here is called a quintic polynomial. Okay, oops, sorry, quintic. Now, if you'll look, it's opposite. So that's an odd number. Do you see how you're starting in the opposite, which is negative? So this should be a positive, just like that. Okay. Domain, all real numbers. Your range, since it's an odd, all real numbers. In behavior, left side is falling left. So negative infinity. Right side is rising right. Rising is positive infinity. Okay? Alright, x-intercept, we can't tell a lot. So there's, that one is negative 2, 0. That one is negative 1, 0. 0, 0. 1, 0. We're just going to eyeball it. 1, 2, 3. 3, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 x-intercept. Y-intercept looks like 0, 0. We're just going to eyeball it. Relative max, there's 1 and there's 2, okay? So I don't quite know what that is, so just write 2 relative max. Minimum, don't quite know either, so 1, 2. So just write 2 relative minimum. That tells me you know 2 of them. 1, 2. 1, 2. We don't know, so we're just going to write NA. All right, so I just want you guys to at least tell me what they are. Okay, now, page 5. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to come back to page 5 in a little bit.